Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
I'm Joel with Felix and Fingers, and with me I got Warren with imagery.LIFE. Warren, how's it going, man?
Going, bro. It's going. It's cool to talk to a human. I've been editing photos all day, so
Oh, have you really?
yeah.
What are you working on right now?
Just a wedding from 2 weeks ago. Trying to get them done. Trying to get them out like in the early season. Get them out within like a week or two if I can. Right. Once we get into peak season, like September, October, I'm pushing like a month or two. But I still like to get them out as early as possible because there's a lot of photographers out there that are like, oh, get your photos in about 6 months. And I'm like, you have to get it to them when they still love each other. You know what I mean? Like,
There's a very
like,
short honeymoon window.
yeah, no, but it's like people are riding that high of the wedding, and they're going to want to get those photos sooner than later. So we always try to put a sneak peek together like a couple days after the wedding so they at least get a taste of what they're going to get. And then obviously try and deliver everything within a couple weeks.
So yeah, so your turnaround's like crazy quick. You're
Try to be anyway. Try to be. We still edit everything. Well, I should say mostly everything by hand, which a lot of people are running everything through AI nowadays. I'm just like a madman when it comes to Lightroom and Photoshop. So I'm just like speeding through. I should film my screen one day and like let people watch. Like this is actually what I'm doing.
there's probably, that's sort of like a TikTok rule 34. There's going to be a niche audience for that. I personally know that I go into those rabbit holes. I would love to see behind the scenes of like a timeline.
And
Here's my editing process.
yeah.
You want to be social
And how
media?
many times I change one thing, and it's like no one's ever going to notice this one thing I'm fixing, but it's like gotta get this one little thing.
Do you find that it's when you're doing that editing, those little tweaks, even though they might not notice them, do you think that sets your work apart a little bit? Like your eye might subconsciously go, "Oh, why is that picture so good?"
Yeah. So there's times where I'm literally working on an image, and then I was like, I'm just gonna leave it, and then I'll put it on the website, and then every time I see it, I'm like,
Something's not right.
I hate that one spot right there, his hair sticking out. Oh, I should have got that, like
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, there's always those moments.
Well, again, I think it really reflects in your work too. I showed
Thanks,
my
man.
fiance when, by the way, I guess I'll let you explain where did
We met at a dueling pianos gig, and I kept requesting crazy songs. I wanted to see if I could stump you, but also get good songs that people would want to hear. I think I stumped you once with a Panic at the Disco song, but
Hallelujah. Yeah, that was it.
yeah. But it was a good one, and yeah, no. So you guys did great. I loved the whole energy of it and the vibe. You guys were going back and forth, battling pianos, playing, beatboxing,
Oh, yeah, it
everything.
was beatboxing too. Yeah.
So from My Chemical Romance to Something Corporate to Queen, I requested all those. Big Guy was
Big
my
guy,
was
baby.
my Big Guy. Hey, Bill. So that was my nickname for the night.
Yeah, I think as soon as you came up, well, I loved your energy all night, but as soon as you came up and you said that you were a wedding photographer, I was like, I mean, proverbial wedding bells right there. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the dude. I already love this guy. And if his work reflects the dude that I'm hanging out with right now, I think
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be a good connection. So I'm glad we
Thanks,
followed
man.
the instinct.
Thanks.
So I guess what I would like to talk about a little bit more, I don't usually do this with photographers. I usually do it with just like venues and planners. But again, something told me that you've got some serious insight and you're like a guy to know. And if I was going to learn more about kind of how this, if I was going to come to you, maybe not even because I just got engaged.
Congrats, bro.
And by the way, for the audience, if anyone's listening, I just closed on my house yesterday with
Nice.
fiance. So everything's moving. So, we might be needing a photographer, but it's good, I think. And I lost my train of thought to just kind of learn more about what to expect when they're working with somebody who is as hands-on as I think you are, because it seems like you're very client-based,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
very individual.
Yeah. So our company, like when we sell a service or a product or anything, I always tell people we're selling the experience first,
Mm,
and then you get awesome photos and video out of it, right? So we're gonna hold your hand throughout the whole process. We're gonna like, so you've never gotten married, most people have never gotten married. So this is the first time they're doing this, right? So we are going to make sure you have enough time for all the things you want to do, because the worst is when someone tries to cram 12 hours of stuff in an 8-hour day. You know
right.
what I mean?
In
And
life
then
too,
next
in general. Yeah.
True, and I personally am I'm guilty of doing that on my in my own life, of being like, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, and then I overpromise. I'm like, ah, ah. But
Right.
but no, on wedding day, I really want to make sure that we set these expectations properly, so everyone knows what they're getting themselves into. Because sometimes they don't realize, family photos is long. It takes longer than just click. Okay, we have to pose everybody. We want to make sure, grandmom's not picking her eye or something or whatever, because there's always something, or you're right, or maybe like Uncle Bob's out getting a drink, and he's supposed to be in the picture. These are all things that like take time, and we have to factor that in. So like, I always want to make sure we set expectations properly and
My
make
eyes
sure
are
the
watering
experience.
thinking about Uncle Bob already.
How about it? We always call, in the wedding industry, Uncle Bob is typically the guy that shows up who's not part of the photo crew, but he's got this big bird watching lens, and he's taking photos from the second row in the ceremony.
You're like,
And
dude,
it's like, hey,
I'm
I'm here
here.
for a reason.
We
It's
got it.
okay.
Relax.
It's okay. Like, you'll get all these photos. In fact, it's, they get unlimited downloads, so she can send it to you and Aunt Judy. You know what I mean?
And you can just sit and just be.
Be in a moment. But
Yeah.
a lot of times they want their own photos so they can see, oh yeah, I've shot weddings before. See, this is my niece's wedding.
How
That's a lot of times.
now let's give a little inside baseball. How often do you think people actually go and revisit their phone pictures that they took at somebody's wedding?
I would say never,
Yeah.
but there's that 1% of the time though, because me and the wife go to concerts a lot, and we'll like she'll do the video of like her favorite song or something, and like we don't go back to it, but like maybe once every couple years we'll be going through. Oh, remember that show?
Right.
Or
And that
remember
kind of
that?
sparks the memory.
It does, but looking at your iPhone photo from the middle of the aisle where like, a couple people's heads are in the way and you can't even see the bride, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
are you really is that really bringing back the memories, or is the, magical photo that we took bringing back the memories?
Right. The whole
So
reason why you exist. And yeah.
exactly.
Is there anything that you're seeing right now, like currently in the industry that are like, I don't know, trends or shifts back to things that people, because things come and go in fashion. So what are you seeing right now, like April 2026 going into, I think you said October's, you're really busy.
Yeah, so I'm noticing a lot of people are ditching the whole old school events, like it's really hit or miss with people doing a bouquet toss nowadays.
Sure. That's a great.
Doing like, bouquet and garter, that's a thing that of the past, the whole garter thing is kind of creepy to begin with, but we'll
For a
keep that
different
there.
podcast.
It's a different podcast. This is for Felix and Fingers After Dark.
Get
No, but like
married to town.
cake cuttings is like becoming a thing where they don't want everyone standing around and watching the whole thing anymore. Just some people aren't even getting cakes. Some people are just getting donut stations or like
Oh
ice
yeah.
cream stations and stuff. Like.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I like creativity. I'm a big fan of tradition, but I also like it's your day, so do what you want to do. So maybe take those traditional moments, and then put your own spin on it, whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do too. I mean, what you saw on Saturday, that was kind of the bar version.
Yeah,
When we're working with our clients too, it's the same methodology. We want to work with you, forget tradition.
yeah,
Unless that's important to you and you want it, whatever you want, that's what we're doing. So
yeah,
it's sort of like, I don't know what's the best metaphor for it. I'm looking for some flowery language, but it really is like you're getting a specialist with you. You're getting somebody who's going to be in the trenches and they know the deal and they're going to get your vibe and exactly what you want. If you want a cake, hey, maybe you're weird, you want to do a garter. and you want a good boudoir picture of the garter shot. That could be kind of cool. Maybe that's what you're into. So since we're talking trends and boudoir photo shoots of the garter ceremony, what do you think, since you've probably seen it all, what are some things that couples should not do, and like some serious cringe, like, dude, don't do that, please?
I don't know if I have any cringe moments, but I feel like a lot of times they want to be traditional, and don't see each other till the ceremony, right? But then they want to have their cake and eat it too. So they want great photos, they want family photos, they want a lot of family photos, but then they don't want to see each other until they walk down the ceremony. Right.
Right.
So for me, as a photographer, videographer, we like to plan a first look. So ahead of time, they can see each other, have a private moment that's intimate with them, and then do a bunch of the photos. So that way, after the ceremony, we're not doing 23 family configurations. We're doing maybe 2. Right. And then you guys are going off the cocktail hour. So now you can enjoy yourself. And nowadays, back in the day, the events used to be way different. Nowadays, it's like, you have 4 hours at your venue. And out of those 4 or 5 hours you have, how many hours do you want to spend with a photographer who's like, all right, now smile, now kiss, now, right?
Sure.
Like, let's get a lot of that stuff out of the way early in the day, and then maybe go to cocktail hour, dance on the dance floor, and then we could sneak you out for sunset or maybe nighttime photos.
Yeah, like,
That way,
come on, let's go out real quick. There's a great sun. Let's go do it. Yeah.
yeah, or like get a breath of fresh air instead of like dancing for 3 hours straight. Some people want to do that. Some people need a break because they're overstimulated, and now
Right.
that's your perfect opportunity to kind of step away, right? But that's one thing, is like a lot of people are trying to, they want to make it special, which it will always be special the first time you see your spouse on wedding day, right? But, don't feel like you have to wait till the ceremony for that to happen,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because you're wasting a lot of valuable time in that day that you're paying for that venue for a certain amount of time, right?
Right.
So utilize it,
Wow, yeah, I like that you transitioned that. What should they never do to, like, that
Yeah,
you totally embody. You got me all the warm and fuzzy now. I'm thinking about my wedding. All right, so since we're going warm and fuzzy, then what do you think? I'm sure, again, seeing it all. Give me like maybe top 1, 2, or 3, like, coolest off the beaten path thing that you saw as a seasoned photographer. You were like, whoa, that's a cool idea. I can't wait to shoot that.
Fireworks are always cool at the end of the night. I love doing a good fireworks show is cool. But I think one of the coolest things was when we had a bride and groom zip line from the ceremony into their cocktail hour. So that was pretty cool.
Let's give a moment of silence for a moment for the zip line idea.
Right?
Dude, where was that?
So it was a place called The Barn at Walnut Grove.
Okay.
It's in the Lehigh Valley, closer to like the Kutztown area, but they have a huge property. So you go all the way up to where the ceremony's at, and then you zip line right down to cocktail hour. And then all your friends and family are waiting at the bottom. So they're watching you like come down and over top of cocktail hour and everything. So the first time we ever did that, I hired an FPV drone guy to follow them around, like
No
zoom around them
way.
while yeah, so we had to do that. That was one of those moments.
Okay.
Pretty
Well,
cool,
that's
right?
the end of the podcast, everyone. Thanks for hanging out.
For real? That's it?
No. That's just a serious. That was good. That was just a serious mic drop. How can you beat a drone shot of zip lining down? I mean, maybe like rappelling in from the Burj Khalifa, or like
I'll tell you, there
shooting
was
in.
we did a wedding up at the Poconos at one time, Lake Wallenpaupack, and the bride and groom ran down the aisle, got onto a speedboat, and drove away, which was cool too. But yeah, that's kind of cool stuff, like
I'm
make it
taking
your
notes.
own. And that's one of those things where it's like, have fun with it, plan,
Right.
stuff that's different, for you,
Yeah. And that is exactly kind of how we do with the dueling pianos too, is when we do our thing, we do the dueling show, but again, we're working right with the client and making sure we play the music for you. We also do DJ services. We
Cool.
bring all the lights, we do everything. So cocktail hour, that's all included, and it's all can be as hands-on or as hands-off as possible.
Do you guys have like other configurations, like with a drummer, with a bass player and stuff? Cool. That's real cool. I
Yeah.
know where you guys were playing the other day was like a smaller venue. So I
Yep.
could imagine if you had a whole kit in there and everything.
At scale. I mean,
Cool.
we have 3 packages that we start from. And each of those, as you go up, gives you more things, cool things that you can do. But the great way that we've kind of worked our system is that it is sort of like a carte blanche. If say you want to do the lowest, the most economical tier, but you want to
Yeah.
add a drummer and a
Right.
saxophone player, then we've got our people, we throw that in, give you that price. Hey, that's what it's going to be. Say you want, a full band, or you want really intimate, small, like what you saw and said, kind of just 2 pianos set up and anything. So, I've got my people all around, all my musicians and entertainers that, we suit everything right to you.
So just curious, would you guys, when you're giving your brides like the song list or letting them pick, I always found it beneficial, like when I did band stuff back in the day, where like we would send them our song list and tell them like,
Yeah.
let us know what you don't want to hear, as opposed to what you do want to hear, because then that can get like cumbersome.
Negative, like tell me what you don't want, I think is such a great, I also find that philosophy in when I'm playing shows. When someone comes up to me and requests a song, I know exactly what to do. If they come up
Yeah,
and say, "Hey, what songs do you know?"
that's
Suddenly
harder.
I
Yeah,
know no songs. I have never played piano ever in my life. So I think that's great advice. I think when you're dealing with your entertainment, I think when you're dealing with your photographers, your venues, figure out what you don't want. You know,
yeah,
hey, please don't play any country music,
right.
and definitely lean more towards Earth, Wind and Fire or something.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. That's the way to do it, I think, because if you don't, then it's harder to find out what you do want, right?
Right.
And that's like when most people know what they don't want. Like they
Yeah.
don't want Cotton Eye Joe, or they don't want the Electric
Yes.
Slide, or they don't want YMCA or whatever, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And then through that conversation, you find very quickly what they're into. I mean, again,
yeah.
as a photographer, I'm sure you get their vibes the second you meet a
Oh, for
couple.
sure.
You're like, "Oh, I know what to do with them."
What's the best is when you have a couple that's like, well, we want more candid photos, but they don't do any candid stuff.
They're
You know
like,
what I mean? So it's like, so they're just like, they'll pose together and it's like, I thought you wanted candid photos. We're like, okay, what should we do? I go, just be you and we'll capture the moment. You know what I
right.
mean? And that's the candid stuff, have fun, play with each other, bump into each other, like, do the thing.
You There was a picture, I'm actually going to pull it up right now, when I was looking at your website, that oh man, I mean, dude, that, by the way, you have to go to his website. Imagery.LIFE is the website,
Yep.
by the way. And look, it's so good. There's your business card. Where is that? There was a candid one that was just rad. Oh, there's one, like a hero shot of the guy on the other dude's shoulders. Looks,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful. Not planned at all. Oh, the shot, the father-daughter dance is beautiful. The bubbles, man, you know what you're doing, dude. Um, anyway,
It's
that's,
we have a 12-person team. Like there's we have I think 5 different photographers, so and the cool thing is like if you look at everything, all the style matches, right? And
yeah,
everyone seamlessly like works as the same person almost. It's weird. But
yeah.
with the whole point is to capture, those moments, as they're happening, And
And
I think the hardest thing as a photographer is preemptively catching those things, right? Planning them.
do you think
Right,
working with
planning
your
what's gonna happen.
wife helps with that? Because you have that bond with your wife, that you
For
guys kind
sure.
of, share that creative, like she might pick
Oh,
something up that you might have missed, or,
oh, for sure. She's actually one of the ones that's always like, "This is gonna happen, look for it." And I'm like,
she's got
"She's right."
that little psychic bit. Yeah,
He does have the radar sometimes, it's crazy,
sure.
the spidey sense.
What's some advice that you would give? Let's do it in 2 lanes. Somebody who's just starting, like getting ready to plan,
Okay.
and say they are just looking for venues, photographers, music, whatever. What would be like a good general? Let's start there. Like a good general, like what's some advice that you can give them?
I think the first thing you need to do is figure out what your budget is, right? So a lot of people go into this, they start planning, they find a venue, and then they realize, how am I going to afford $300 a person? Plus a photographer, plus videographer, plus a band, plus a DJ, plus a right. So I think figuring out what you comfortably are able to spend and break it down like, okay, so on a monthly basis, how much more can I afford and not go beyond my means, but also like, my rent is this, my food's this, my electric's this, right? And then you figure out, okay, well, I have X amount of discretionary funds, right? How much more discretionary funds do you have that you can put towards the wedding every month? So if it's
Yeah.
$500 a person or $1,000 a person or whatever, but I would figure out who can help you, right? First and foremost, see if mom and
Sure.
dad are available to give you some money, or if you have an aunt or a grandma or someone that loves you a lot, see if they're willing to help you out. And then figure out what that budget is, and then stay within that budget and make sure whatever's important to you, budget that first. So if the venue and food are important, perfect. And then obviously photography, if music's important to you, whatever.
Totally had a piggyback and it went out of my head about that.
Budget.
Budget. Oh, that was what it was. Thank you. That might sound kind of, I don't know, unsexy and daunting and like, oh,
Definitely not sexy.
but absolutely not. But I think this is great advice because once you knock all of that out in the beginning and get all the planning and you know exactly what you're working within, then it becomes fun.
Yeah.
Then you're not doing these lofty things like, oh, I wish we could have this, or I wish we could, but it's not in our budget. Or maybe we could make it if you do it and stick to it, then you're good. Then the possibilities are like, oh, now we can get creative and fun and find out
Sure.
what we want.
And know where you can cut corners too. Some brides are okay with having flowers from the craft store as opposed to like getting actual flowers, right?
Or
Because
or
sometimes
like you
the
said,
cost of that.
the cake and donuts, or
Yep.
cupcakes or something.
That's another example. That's great.
I remember my mother went to a wedding once and she still talks about it to this day. And she said she had never seen it done before for the little party favors or goodie bags that you would give at the end of the wedding. They did a candy bar and it
Yeah.
was like, old school, like, bulk candy. And you
Yeah.
get a bag and everybody had, you would go and fill up your candy bag at the end and
Yep.
that's what you got to take. And she was like, that was just so them and so unique and different because how many times do you get a little, you get a candle and a thing
Yeah.
and you light the candle and you throw the candle away. But they had little bags and you could use them for travel and they had a little logo printed. It was just stuck with her. This was 20 years ago, probably. And
Sure.
I
We
think
went to a
that those
wedding
are
that
great.
had that. I love a good candy bar. I can't stress a good candy bar enough. Gummy bears, Sour Patch Kids, let's
Root beer
go.
barrels.
Dude, all of it. All of it. You know?
We went to this last year, my fiance and I went to Europe and we were in Croatia. Was it Croatia? I think it was Croatia. It doesn't matter. And out of all the places we went into, we found a little old school bulk candy place.
Well,
And we were just like, oh my God, we have to go in there and get, we called it old people candy. Get old people candy from Croatia. And it was just wonderful. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And then I guess the other question about that would be you specifically. What are you looking for when you're dealing with when you're working with a client? Like what helps you in your communication process to make it as easy as possible for them?
I mean, sometimes, talk about people, it's hard to know what you want right off the bat, right? We were
Right.
talking about that. So I love it when people have a good, solid vision that are confident, outgoing, know what they want, or know what they don't want. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love that. That makes everything easier. But ultimately, what I look for in a client is somebody that can match my energy or that matches like the vibe from our team, right? Because some people, I'll put it this way. Sometimes you're just the hired help and it's like, just take my picture. Thank you.
Sure.
Goodbye.
Sure.
And then other people are like, we love you guys, your family, whatever. And we kind of lean towards more like the family vibe because it's one of those like, we want to take care of our clients. We want people that appreciate what we do, right? As opposed to people that are just like, yeah, you're a photographer. You were in our budget. We just hired you. Thank you. Bye.
And there's no right or wrong. Like we said earlier, there's no right or wrong way. It's what's important to you. That might
Right.
be where somebody would maybe be okay with cutting a budget. But for you, you're more towards that
Experience.
boutique
You want that.
experience. Yeah, yeah. That's
For sure.
fantastic. All right. Well, let's talk a little logistics just in case, because let's you said you were booked. You're starting now October. So what's your availability look like, and like how far in advance? I mean, typically we said April, it's October. What do you say, like 6 months do you usually book in advance?
We have, let me put it this way. We have 31 weddings for next year already. So, and we do about 80 to 100 weddings a year.
In addition to
So
other things too, right? Not just weddings.
correct, correct. We do headshots, family portraits, senior portraits, all that kinds of stuff in between.
Isn't
So
it?
imagery.LIFE, right? Covering all aspects of life, right? So that's what we do. But yeah, typically if anybody's wanting to work with us or inquire, we have availability. We still have availability for this year, right? Which is fine. But typically people reach out within a year or
Yeah.
more to book photography or a venue because that's the stuff that goes first. You know
Right.
what I
So
mean?
that's a bit longer of a timeline than I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Because we have to start planning about 6 months to 3 months out, and
Right.
that's like getting everything ready to go for them, making sure they have a proper timeline for the day. Are they doing a first look? Are they not doing a first look? How many family pictures? So then that way we can judge how long we need to be there, what time we need to start. So then hair and makeup knows what time they have to start. So yeah,
It's a day. It
it is a
sounds,
day.
I mean,
Typically about 10 to 12 hours we're working.
yeah, that's a lot. And I think with all those moving pieces, it's so important to have somebody like you that is like one less spinning wheel that you have to worry about. Like, hey, I got it. Go have fun. I might call you to take a picture outside at sunset, but otherwise, we got it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the biggest thing I've been telling people lately is A, find a photographer that you want to hang out with, that you can hang out with because you're going to be spending 8 to 10 hours a day with them,
Right.
or more, right? And if you don't like them or want to be around them, then it's going to make the day very cumbersome and hard, right?
Cumbersome is a good word. Yeah.
So there's that. And then also, um, find somebody that, you feel like you can connect with,
Yep.
who knows what they're doing, who can kind of help guide you and make the right decision. Cause this is the most expensive and the biggest party you've ever thrown. So you should probably go enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
And make it perfect.
yeah, for real.
Well, I'll do this too. But that was a great ending note, I would say, just for dotting I's and crossing T's. Do you have a deposit that you accept usually, and like a cancellation policy? If you were booking it.
Yeah. Yeah, so deposits typically 50%.
Okay.
Whatever the package is that you want, saves the date 50%. And then pay it off as you go. You know what I mean? There's no rhyme or reason as long as everything's paid up 30 days before the wedding, which that gives us enough time to make sure all the checks cleared and we can pay our team. Yeah, cancellation policy, unfortunately, if you cancel the wedding, you already paid, it's non-refundable.
I mean,
Because we secure that day. We can only do so many dates a year, right? There's only 52 weeks in a year, and we only do weddings typically on Fridays and Saturdays. So if you reserve that day, that means we told other people to, go kick rocks.
yeah. Typically, talking about cancellation policy is, for a wedding is you have bigger things to worry about if you're discussing cancellation policy. But good to know anyway, going into it, just in case.
We've had a couple brides get pregnant this year
Oh,
and
well,
reschedule.
that's a good way then. Well, if
Yeah.
they wanted a kid, then it's a good.
Yeah, they did. They did. It was just
Good, good.
came a little early than expected. But so we helped them. We worked them out. We didn't charge them a full rescheduling fee or whatever because it's one of those things, right? But
Right.
sometimes you get family dynamics where like mother-in-law wants to reschedule the wedding, and it's like, well, now I'm charging you full price for a rescheduling fee because
Sure.
you're just being a pain in the butt. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I try to be flexible with people, and I have a heart, and empathy for real life situations.
Yeah. Um. So I assume you would be the dude to contact.
Most of the time, yeah. I mean, it all depends on the wedding and if we're already booked. I typically let people know if I'm not going to be there. But yeah, we have, like I said, we have a huge team. Everyone's trained by me, under me and the wife.
Yeah.
So everyone has the same style and vibe, and like I said, we only match people with
The
the
right.
proper energy. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that too in our with our weddings. We have bios, excuse me, bios and little video clips and stuff of all our players. And if you want, say you see somebody that you really like, and
Yeah.
say you saw me, hey, at another show, and you wanted me, you can request your individual players too.
Cool.
And
Love
that's,
that.
I think that's, or if you trust us, we can, we do that too. Again, that's the carte blanche boutique kind of thing where I get your vibe and I'll make sure that the players that are in there are going to be the ones that are right.
Typically what we do too. I'm not going to put a loud photographer with a quiet, subdued bride,
Right, exactly.
you want to take that, loud, boisterous bride and put her with another person who's going to be able to match the
Amplify.
energy and or keep up with her. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So
Fair, yeah. Um, and then I guess the last thing I will say, is there anybody that you liked? Well, you named, what was the zip line was the barn?
yeah, the barn at Walnut Grove.
That is, I have to check that out. That sounds incredible. I'm gonna have to shoot them an email.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'd love to chat with them too, and maybe just go ziplining on their property.
Yeah, they might give you a quick trial run.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Like, hey, I just
do
need
it through the podcast.
I really gotta make sure that my clients know what they're getting into. So hey, what about any other vendors that you work with that you like?
Absolutely. So we love working with Vault 634 in Allentown.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a retro style, like speakeasy style wedding venue, has that 1920s real classy vibe. The team that works there is probably the best team I've ever worked with. And I'm not just saying that. They are a well-oiled machine. And I'm sure you notice in the wedding industry, you go to a venue one time and then you go back to a venue, and it's a whole different staff because this industry
So much
seems
turnover.
a lot of it. The thing about the vault is that Vault 634 in Allentown is that they have pretty much the same staff they've had since I started working there 5, 6, 7 years ago, right?
Oh, that's
So a lot of the people that are still there, it shows the how well the management does as well, right? Because it's all systemic. If management is not good, then your employees are not good, and then you lose employees quicker, and so on and so forth. So
and the product.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
they do a great job. And then also, I don't know if it's up your alley, but we work with a lot of DJs, wedding DJs. And there's a wedding DJ company called Sonic Entertainment in the area that does really good work. They know how to work with the crowd and anticipate moments and get the energy going, wordplay with songs and everything else.
That sounds very similar to what Felix and Fingers does.
Yeah, I know. That's why I didn't want to put you under the bus with that one. But
No, no,
those are our two favorite vendors, I guess wedding vendors, yeah, that we love working with. So
yeah, they're again, that is, I never ever want to like discredit or downplay other
oh, for sure.
because that would be negating my own personal philosophy, and our philosophy is like, we want to make sure the day is right. You want an EDM wedding, you don't want to hire dueling pianos.
Correct.
I think if you want buttoned up AI generated perfect Pinterest wedding where everything is, then
Not hiring me.
you might not be the photographer for them.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Or, one of those wouldn't want to go to a woodland fairy farm with, just got to match the people up.
Right.
So Vault, say the two again. Well, we
Vault
have the barn.
634. Yep.
Yeah, 634.
Barn at Walnut Grove, ziplining, pretty cool. The Vault 634 in Allentown on Hamilton Street. And then Sonic Entertainment, DJs, those are some top vendors for the wedding industry. Honorable mentions, I would say we have Makeup by Roxy, which is a makeup team in the Valley that does a lot of great work. She's got a big team and they cover a lot of ground. And then Amy's Cakes. Amy's Cakes is one of those classic cake designers. And so good. It doesn't just look good, it tastes freaking good. Sometimes it looks good and tastes like trash.
Right.
Sometimes it tastes great, but looks like trash. She's got the best of both worlds. And yeah, she's got a good team as well. So
cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, I guess that's about it, I think.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. I appreciate you.
Warren, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking with
100%.
me. Other than that, I'll see you hopefully soon at another show, and
Hopefully.
we'll chat and and keep hanging, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate you.
Warren, thanks, dude.
Cool. Take care, man. I'll talk to you.
All right, bud. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.